Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 6 of the Getting Started with Salesforce. Today, we're going to continue on part 2 of Object Manager and Lightning App Builder. Yesterday, we went through some of the key things in Object Manager and Lightning App Builder. We've covered standard objects, the relationship. We've covered the types of relationships such as master detail, lookup. And we've covered how to create fields and how to create custom objects. So today we're going to be touching base on certain things such as implications of deleting a field after you've created it. And also we want to see how we can assign different page layouts, record types, and business processes for different custom and standard objects. So again, I like to work with bullet points, and the bolded points are the ones which we are going to touch base on today. So for instance, we're going to learn more about the page layouts and assignments. We're going to learn how to create unique fields, required fields, external IDs. We're going to learn about roll-up summary and formula fields. And we're going to pay more attention to record types, paths, and business processes. This is one of the key things that makes Salesforce unique. Your ability to customize looks, page layout based on certain fields selected in a particular form input. So without wasting much time, I'm going to go right into the Trailhead. Again, if you don't have a Trailhead account, make sure you sign up for one using your Gmail or your social media account. Once you create a profile, whatever activities you do would be logged and you can get points for it. As you can see, in my Trailhead, I have a few points. The expectations is before you go to write your Salesforce admin certification, you should have at least 10,000 points and a bit of badges, but make sure that you can achieve certain points so you can get some confidence, okay? So to go into the hands-on org, I click on I go to the right-hand side corner and I click on the hands-on orgs. And I launch my training org. Whatever org you're using does not really matter. The most important thing is make sure that it's under your profile. So you can have as many orgs as possible. Whatever trails you do not matter. The most important thing is you're doing it under your name so your points can accumulate. So now that I'm in my trail, in my hands-on org, let me reduce this a little bit. Yeah. So now this is the front end. Yesterday, we talked about different applications that comes as a result of the standard Salesforce orgs, okay? So the applications that come as a default, such as service, marketing, community, sales, they are all default orgs. Today, we're going to learn how to create a new application and customize this application such that we are only going to see the object which we are interested in showing on this tab. So you don't have to see all these irrelevant tabs you don't want. You have to just create your own and select it. We're going to learn about that. So yesterday, I talked about standard objects. Standard objects are the objects which comes by default in your Salesforce org, such as the contact, the campaigns, the leads, the opportunities. And yesterday, I renamed accounts to clients. Let me quickly rename it back so people don't get confused. To rename a standard, you cannot delete a standard object and you cannot delete a standard field. However, you have the liberty to rename these fields. To rename a standard field or a standard object, you go to Setup. Remember, Setup is where you do everything you want to do. Front end is where you use the Salesforce org. So if you make any changes in the back end, you can see those changes in the front end. This is the back end, and you get there using the setup. I go to Object Manager, and I can see all the standard objects. How do I know if an object is a standard object? I could tell by just reading what the object type is. And how do I know if an object is a custom object? I scroll down to an example of a custom object, which was department, which we created yesterday. And I can see that Salesforce says is a custom object. One of the key differences between a standard object and a custom object is the API name. The API name of a custom object has an underscore, _C. So every time you see a custom object, it will have a _C. So look out for any other custom object, it will have a _C. Right now, I can edit my custom objects. I have the liberty to edit and delete my custom objects. However, for my standard objects, as you can see, I cannot edit them. So how would I be able to rename the things I cannot edit if the names does not match my business convention? All I need to do is go to tabs. I have the option to rename tabs and labels. Rename tabs and labels is used to rename the standard objects and the standard fields. Remember, standard objects and standard fields are objects and fields that come as a default from Salesforce. Previously, I have this as client, and I'm renaming this as I have my account as client. I'm renaming it back to client. Okay, so now that we have that in place, remember to create a custom object, we just go to the right-hand side. But how do we get there? We go to Object Manager. Object Manager is where we manage all our objects. We go to the right-hand side from the Object Manager, we click on Custom. And we can specify the custom object we want to create. For instance, if you want to create a custom object called jobs, job, the label would be job, and the plural form would be jobs. Once you create the custom jobs as a plural, you specify if it is a vowel sound, and you can click on this, okay? You also have the option to select whether you want to track field history and allow reports. All this we did yesterday. I'm going to go into one of the objects, custom object we created yesterday called students. I explained to you that fields and relationships is where you create custom fields. As you can see, there are some fields that comes by default. Just because you created a custom object does not mean you don't get standard fields in the custom object. So there is a possibility, not even the possibility, there's a guarantee that we can have standard objects, standard fields in a custom object. This fields created by is a lookup to user. We did not create these fields. It was automatically created because we created a custom object. This was a field which we created. We created department as a lookup, and I think we created one other thing. But the bottom line is there are standard fields. Standard fields are fields you cannot delete. You cannot delete them, you cannot edit them, but you can rename them. The way I rename the account standard object is the same way I can rename the fields. So right now I rename the account, I can go to Nest and I can look for all those standard fields and rename them because I cannot delete them. I can rename them. However, if you do not like anything on this tab, if it's irritating you or you just feel like it's not part of the business object and you want to take it off, you just need to edit and remove it. If it's a custom object, you will have the liberty to exit out. If it's not a custom object, then you have to go to the apps. I'm going to show you how to take it off from the apps before the end of today. So for today, I want to just emphasize on certain things. So if I go to the objects and I go to account, I go to fields and relationship, I told you I can create what we call a formula field. A formula field is just a data type. So we have different types of data types for input fields. What are data types? Data types are essentially the type of data you want to collect. So if I click on new on the contact object, I want to collect the salutation, which is Mr., Mrs., Dr., Prof, and the likes. This is a pick list. A pick list is a pre-made data which is pre-populated for selection. By that, I mean you have the option of selecting among the predefined fields available in the pick list, in the field. How do you create a pick list? All you just need to do is select a pick list. Remember, you go to fields and relationship, you click on new, you select a pick list as the data type, you go to next, and you give the pick list name. You can call it whatever you want to call it. For instance, if I want to call it business type. So business type is a pick list. I gave an example of how to use a global pick list yesterday. But today, I'm just going to enter the value. I can call the business type premium business type or standard business type. So once I have this, then I can go next. But before you go next, you have the option of making this field a required fields. What are required fields? Required fields are fields that you mandate before a record can be saved. When you go to the front end, you would see a bunch of form fields. If a field is required for business validation or it's required for certain activities in the business, you need to make them required fields. For instance, we have client name. Anytime you see the red asterisk sign beside a field, it means you cannot save a record without filling that field. So how do you make a field compulsory? You make a field compulsory by clicking on the required field, the required option when creating the field. Remember, this is the back end and this is the front end. Anytime you want to display something here, you need to have designed it here. Without designing it, you cannot see it in the front end. After going next, you determine what profiles should see that field. And you can save it once you're okay with that. You select a page layout and you save. So that's for that. Let's go back to our object called student. Yesterday, I talked about relationships. What are relationships in Salesforce? Relationships are a way of associating one object into the other objects. As you can see, we have an account. When you open an account records, you would see the contacts. You will see opportunities. You will see cases. These are related objects to an account object. You would see related objects in the related list. Some of you might not see this by default. I will show you how to make that changes. Okay, so you see the related object in the related tab of the objects. So why do we have relationships? We have relationships because we don't want to duplicate data. We want to associate our contact to an account. If you create a new contact, the contact will be associated to the account. The account here is ExxonMobil. So if I click on this contact, I'll be able to see the account name. If I click on the account, I'll be able to see that it has one contact, and the contact is this. That's the purpose of relationship. Relationship associate things together. How do you create a relationship? I told you yesterday, if we have the student object, which is a master relationship. I can create an association between the student object and an exam record. In our case, exam record is a relationship. It has a relationship to the student object, and the relationship is called master detail. A master detail relationship is a relationship that is tightly coupled. By tightly coupled, it means if you delete the master, you would definitely delete the child. Let me give you an example. I create a student object, and when I create a student object, I call it manifest, and I save. This is manifest because I've associated student with an exam record, meaning I want to create an exam record for this student. I go to the related tab and I can see the option to create exam records. I click on new and I can specify what manifest got in chemistry exam. And I specify the score. This is the purpose of relationships. If you have to create exam record without associating it to a student, you will need to do what? When you're creating a new record for exam, you would always have to write the student name. Chances are, if you write the student name as manifest today, what if you make a mistake tomorrow and call it Manny? Manny and manifest are not the same thing. So relationships ensures that you are associating the right students to the right exam records. That is the benefit of relationships. It ties up the record such that you can relate it. You can move from manifest, go to related tab, and see the exam records. In the exam record, you can click on one and you will see who has these exam records. This is relationship, and this is a master detail relationships. As you can see, we also have students. Before I go to lookup relationship, let me show you again how we created a master detail relationship. We go to exam record and we click on new. When we click on new, we specify the relationship type. So let me create it again, new. Relationship type is master detail relationship. We select master detail relationship because we want to associate the master and child together, the student and exam records together. Remember, I'm coming from exam record. I'm not in the student object. I'm in the exam record object. That's where you create that relationship of master detail. Okay, so I go to master detail and I click on next. Then I select the student objects. Okay, I select the student object. But because we already have a relationship in place, you don't get to see that option again. So if you want to create your own model, you will be able to create that. Another good example is when you have a customer and a bill. The customer is the master and the bill is the child. You can create many bills, but that bill belongs to a customer. You cannot have a bill in the system that does not belong to a customer. This should be one of your projects. Now that we know the master detail relationship, let's look for lookup. Lookup relationship is a type of relationship that is loosely coupled. By loosely coupled, it means you can actually have a data or not have a data with that object. A good example is department. For instance, a student can be in the system and not belong to any department. It is not compulsory. But if you want to have a clean data, you can specify the department. So when you're creating a student, you can specify the department. And as you can see, I can decide to create a student without departments, and I can choose to create a student with departments. The first time I select without departments, The second time, I select with a department. So lookup relationship is not tightly coupled, it's loosely coupled. I can do without the order. One thing about master detail relationship, we have the properties of the master in the child. For instance, if I delete this guy that has, okay, no exam record yet, I click on exam record, I say sample exam record, and I put 95 score. I save. Sample exam record belongs to this guy. If I go to exam records, I will see sample exam record. If I click sample exam record, I will see the students. If I delete the students, sample exam record is gone. Okay? You cannot see sample exam record again. That's the power of master detail relationship. Now that we've seen that, let's go to our objects. I'll go to the student objects, or I can go to the account object. When I get to the account object, I want to create a new object. Remember, you have to select the data type. If I select this test data type, it means I want to enter a free test. When you're creating a student, you see that you have free tests. This is free input, right? There is no drop down, is not lookup, is nothing but just free test. That's an example of a data type called test field. So if I want to enter something called test field, I can just say random field. So now I have a random field on the account. The length determines how many characters you can put here. How many characters you can put here before Salesforce says, okay, that's it. You cannot type more. That's the length. The field name is just a way to identify the field. This is an example of a field name. I explained this earlier. The field name, the field label is what you get to see, but the field name is used behind the scene. You don't get to see this, but it's what Salesforce used to identify this label. Now, there is what they call uniqueness of a field. The uniqueness of a field, as the English word says, the field data needs to be unique. What does that mean? If you go to the accounts and you click on new account and you create manifest accounts, the client name is manifest. It's asking for something. Let me just click again to see required business type. Business type. Did I create a business type field? That means I need to refresh this. Maybe there was a business type somewhere. New. Oh yeah, we created a business type. Okay, and we made that business type required. That's why it's asking for business type. So now I call it manifest. Okay, so manifest meaning that if I save this and I go back to the account, I click on new, I can still call another account name manifest. For you guys, it might not mean anything. But if you're working for a larger enterprise and someone has the same name, it can be very difficult to identify who that account is. Another use case is a client number. The account number should be unique in the system. If you have someone that has the same credit card number as you won't be happy because the person can be using your credit card. This is what is called unique field. Unique field means that you need to have a field, you need to have data in, you need to have information in this field, and the way you write that information needs to be unique. For instance, manifest is the client name. Anytime you create a new account, you cannot have manifest like this. Case sensitivity is when you determine whether manifest is the same thing as manifest. Can you see? This to Salesforce is manifest. but to your business, it could mean something else. Case sensitivity means that ABC, capital ABC and small letter ABC are not the same. Case insensitive means that capital ABC and small letter ABC are duplicate. Case insensitive means that ABC and ABC has duplicate values. Case sensitive means that ABC and capital letter ABC and small letter ABC has different values. Okay, so you can decide that. It's totally up to you. External fields. External fields are fields that you get from an external source. For instance, most of you'll be working with legacy data, legacy system. You have maybe a CRM that the company or organization uses previously, and they want to bring the data into Salesforce. That legacy system would have what they call ID. In most cases, if you're familiar with SQL, this is the primary key. The primary key would be used as the external ID in Salesforce. This will help you to manage your data and identify data that are coming from an external system. So when you're uploading your data into Salesforce, the primary key on SQL database or your Postgres database or whatever source you're bringing the data from, you will match it to the external ID. That's the benefit of having a required field, a unique field, and external ID field. Now that we have that, let's go to what we call roll-up summary fields. Roll-up summary fields can only be used on the master objects, on the master detail relationship. So if we want to have a roll-up summary field on the student objects, so let me tell you what a roll-up summary means. A roll-up summary means that I am adding the accumulation value of a particular field into a different object. Let me show you. We have exam records. And as you can see, we have exam records, we have students. If I click on manifest and I click on related, I have two records, the chemistry exam and the physics exam. If I open the chemistry exam, you will see that manifest as 95%. If I open the physics exam, you will see that manifest as 95%. Let me make it a bit interesting. Just put 75%, okay? So in physics, manifest as 75. In chemistry, manifest as 95. A roll-up summary field is put on the master object, which is the student. What is the purpose of the roll-up summary field? The roll-up summary field is used to identify the total value. So if you want to add physics and chemistry, and you want to put the total score in manifest in the student object, you will use a field called roll-up summary. How do you create that? You go to the master object, you click on new, and you select roll-up summary field. Roll-up summary field will calculate all the data from the detail side of the master detail relationship and put the value into the master side. The master side is students. The detail side is exam record. So I go and I click on next and I say total student score. The total student score will now be calculated based on the exam records. If you do not have any relationship, you would not see the exam record appear. The roll-up summary field enables that to happen. Then we do a sum of the student score. Then we click on next. We click on next and we save. So now that we save, we can now create a new student, or you can actually just, you can refresh and the roll-up summary field for students should come up. As you can see, it says 170, which is the sum of 95 and 75. This is an example of a total summation. If you want to calculate the average student score, you use the same roll-up summary and you go to next. You say average student grade. The average student grade will now be calculated based on the exam records. And instead of you selecting sum, you can select count, I think, or you can select you can select sum, student record, okay? But you need to do extra calculation. Extra calculation meaning that you will now you need to find two things. To find the average, you need to find two things. The total score divided by the counts. So for this, I will call this student grade counts. Okay, just to make sense out of it, I'll call it student grade counts, and I will count the exam records, and I save. So now I have student count and I have total score. How do you calculate the average? The average is essentially the total score divided by the student counts, okay? So when I refresh this page, I'm expecting it to appear. 2 students. Let me try to open a new one. Students, manifest. Let me go to the page layout to see if I can see the average, the count. So this is the count, okay? But again, it's meant to come up. You can also preview to make sure that it's coming up. But like I said, sometimes this stuff delays for a bit, but it will eventually come up. So you don't have to worry too much about it if you do not see the count immediately, but it's eventually come up. So now that we have the count, you can now calculate the average. The average is total divided by count. How do you create the average field? The same way we've created everything. We go to new and we create a field, and that field will be called, what kind of field would you store average? It's going to be number, okay? It's going to be number, then you do the average. No, you're going to use a formula.
Formula, yeah.
Formula, you now do number, okay? You just say average student grade, okay? Then you calculate the average. The average will now be whatever you have, total score divided by, what is it? Total score divided by student count, okay? Then that will give you the average. That is how you build fields. That is how you build relationships. So now that we know how to build fields and relationships, let's go to one important aspect in Salesforce. The Salesforce, every object has what we called a record type. What are record types? These are record types. Record types enables you to differentiate different inputs that will appear on a pick list. Let me give you an example. You have an account object and you have new account. Let's say you want prospect, customer direct, and customer channel to appear based on certain fields, certain inputs, certain record types. And you want channel partner, installation partner, technology partner to appear based on certain selection. The record types helps you to separate what will show up in a pick list field. This will help you to differentiate or streamline the kind of data you collect. So for instance, in my rating, I have hot warm cold. If I have a premium customer, I don't want to have hot warm cold. I just want to have hot cold. If I have a standard customer, I want to have hot warm cold. Record types are used to differentiate or to streamline what you can have in a pick list. How do you create a record types? You go to the object, you click on accounts, and you select a record types. Then you click on new, and you specify premium accounts. Okay, obviously the label is whatever you want to give it. I'm just giving you an example of premium account record type, or it could be anything, okay? Once you have the premium account record type, you give it a page layout. Ideally, you should be having a separate page layout for your record type, but you can also use an existing page layout. That's not a problem. The benefit of record type is it helps you to determine what kind of information you see in a details page of your your Salesforce org. For instance, if it's a premium customer, you might not want to show certain things. Previously, we've used page layout to do this. Okay, we use page layout and profile, but now we're using record types. So record types for premium accounts has been created. Let's go back and create record types for standard accounts. The standard accounts record types. You make it active and you make it available for the profile which you're interested in. Remember, you can separate record types based on profile, meaning that if certain profile logs into the system, they might not have the luxury of selecting a record type. I will give you a use case of having a record type shortly. So now we have the standard accounts and the premium accounts. When you want to create an account record next time, previously, it just goes straight without any issue. I wouldn't call this issue, but it goes straight without any restriction. But now, if you want to create a new account, it will ask you, what kind of accounts do you want to create? Is it a premium account or a standard account? A premium account will follow a different process. A standard account will follow a different process. How do you do that? We've created the record types. Now we need to differentiate what should happen if certain record types are selected. I gave you an example of this within a record type, okay? Business, I gave you an example of a type, okay? So, or rating, let's use rating. Rating is very obvious. Alt warm code. When it is premium, I want alt code. When it is standard, I want warm code, or I want alt code. So for standard record type, you go to rating. Remember, it helps you differentiate what information should appear on a pick list. It helps you to differentiate what information should appear on the pick list. So having said that, you go to the rating and you take off alt away from standard selection, meaning that when the user selects standard record type in the front end, the only option that will be available for the user in the rating would be warm and cold. If the user goes to premium and the user selects premium record types, the only option that will be available is hot and cold. So record types helps you to manage what information you collect. It cleans up the Salesforce org for you. So the user would not see irrelevant information not needed for them. I click on new and I select premium. When I select premium, I click on next. The option, I need to refresh this. You need to refresh to ensure that it kicks in. Sometimes it takes a bit of time, but eventually it's going to click in. I click on new and I select premium record types. Now the rating would be hot and cold. The rating would be hot and cold. Why? Because premium record types does not take WOM according to what we've set. This is premium record types. Remember, record types, premium record types. We go to the rating and we took off WOM. If you select standard, option, sorry, I click on something else. If you select standard option when you're creating the account, it will not give you auth, I think. It's going to be WOM and code. Why is that? Because when we go to record types and our standard record types in our rating section, we have taken WOM away, auth away. Remember, record types deals with the pick list value. So anything that has a pick list, you can control. So let's go to the type. I go to account and I go to type. Initially, we were talking about rating, but now we can go to type. When it is type and the account is standard, I just want three things: prospect, technology partner, and order. When it is premium, I want few things, okay? Let me see. Okay, I want everything when it is premium. I want everything when it is premium, and I want just three things when it is standard. Record types helps you manage the pick list value. Next, you see, we have everything when it is premium. However, when it is standard, you will have just three options in the type. I go to standard and I have type. It only shows three options. You can control all the pick list value the same way we've done for rating and type. That is the benefit of having a record type. The other benefit of having a record type is you can control the page layouts. The page layout can be controlled using record type, meaning that when the page, when you have standard accounts, I don't want to see a bunch of information. I just want to see the basic information. When we have a premium account, I want to see the full information in the details. So how do you do that? You go to page layout and you click on new page layouts. Then you type in premium customer page layouts, okay? I don't need to specify page layouts. And I can build from the default page layouts. I save. Now I have a premium customer page layout. I can decide what fields I want it to appear. As you can see, this is the current fields we have, which is fine. I can just save because I don't want to make any changes. However, for my standard customer, I know they're not paying me anything. I can just change the field display for standard customer. I can build upon an existing field, existing page layout to build my standard customer. I click on save, and instead of having all this information, I want to take everything on this right off. I will just click on remove, 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 and I save. Now we haven't really done much because we still need to do what? Assign this page layout. How do you assign the page layout? You assign the page layout by going to the right-hand side and click on page layout assignment. The page layout assignment comes up. Then you can click on edit assignment. When you click on edit assignment, you can now select the profile of interest. The profile will now determine the record type and the page layout. This is very important. When you don't have a record type, when you create a record type, you select a profile for that record type. If you do not select a profile for the record type, you would have the master as default. The master would have the default option. But if you selected a profile for the record type, you have the option to select the other record types you've created. So now that we have this, I'm just going to go to the system admin profile, and I will say when the record type is premium account, I want you to use a premium customer layout, page layout. When the record type is standard account, I want you to use standard account page layout. As you can see, it says premium account for premium customer for premium account, standard customer for standard account. Once you've selected that, remember, you're selecting based on record types. So I've introduced to you record types. Record types it's things that determine the drop-down pick list. You can also use record type to determine the things that appear in the page layout. So now let's refresh this page and test what we've just done. I have created 2 different types of record types, and I've created 2 different types of page layouts. And I have assigned one record type to a particular page layout, and I've assigned the other record type to the other page layout. So next time I click on New, and I select Premium Account, I click on Next. Remember, our rating wouldn't change. It's going to be hot and cold, because changing the rating does not affect any other thing. It only affects the form inputs, which is fine. So I'll just say Premium Account shows all field, just for us to identify the changes we've made. I click on Save, but it's telling me a required field has been missing. Remember, this is just a field and a drop-down. It has nothing to do with the record type. It's just something I created out of the blue. I click on Save. Now I have my details, and I can see that it's using a particular page layout. Now I go back to the account and I click on New. Instead of selecting Premium Accounts, I'm selecting Standard Accounts. So the Standard Account, my expectations are it should give me a different layout. As you can see, it has taken off the relevant fields we are not interested in, and it has a very clean page layout. Standard accounts, okay? So we have the standard account, and make sure you select the business type. But you don't have the business type. For me, I put premium and standard, but you could put anything. You could put literally internal and external, whatever it is. It's just me creating an example of a pick list. So now you see the page layout is different for a standard account and is different for a premium account. Have you seen how we're able to customize the details page based on record type, page layout, and profile? This will be useful for your project and your certification exam. You will need to understand how to differentiate or how to hide fields based on selection in a pick list. If you currently have a standard account that was created based on a certain record type, you can switch the record type by going to the right-hand side and click on this drop down to click on Change Record Type. I can switch to the premium account, and this information will come up and I can save. As you can see, from a standard account, I can switch the record type and things will change dynamically. This is how to manipulate details of a page in Salesforce. One thing you should also know is that we have paths. I showed you yesterday that Salesforce has paths. What are paths? Paths are just information that shows the life cycle of a process. For instance, if you are in school, you have maybe an admission officer. The admission officer takes input of prospective students, and they go through what they call the admission process. The admission process could be application received, references checked, contact checked, student loan received or tuition fee received until the student is fully enrolled. PAT just shows the life cycle of a process. PAT is used in business processes. In Salesforce, we have business processes. Business processes are ways which Salesforce or businesses can walk along a life cycle. By life cycle, I mean a process. So what do I mean by that? If you go to the back end, you can type in processes. We have the lead process, which is used for marketing. We have the sales process, which is used for sales. We have the support process, and we have other processes. For your admin, all you just need to know is the lead process, the sales process, and maybe the support process. The support process is mostly used for cases. How do you attend to customer support? If you are working in a telecommunication, I gave an example yesterday. If you're working in a telecommunication industry, you're most likely going to be using cases. Cases is often used to manage customer complaints. Customer will report a case. You can enter a case based on phone, web, or email. Next week, we're going to go into all this customized application in more details. But for now, remember that we have PATs, and PATs shows the life cycle of a process. As you can see, we have PATs on opportunities, which is a sales process. We have PATs on leads, which is the lead processes. And we have PATs on, I think, cases. I'm not sure. Let's see. We have PATs on, okay, we don't have PATs on case, but we can create PATs on case as well. Having said that, you can also create your own custom PATs. You're not limited to opportunities, leads, and cases. If you want to create your own custom PAT, you can create your own custom PAT. So let's create a custom PAT for a custom object. Let's assume that we have a custom object called projects. And we know that a project always have a life cycle. And the life cycle of a project is start of a project, initiation of a project. I don't know, it's been a while, but you have different parts for a project. So I'll just give a dummy example, okay? So I'm going to allow reports and everything, but again, this is not mandatory. It's totally optional to select these boxes. Now that we have that, remember, for you to use PAT, you need to have a pick list. The pick list field would be one field you use to determine the PATs. As you can see, we have prospecting for opportunities, we have qualification, we have need analysis, and the likes. Where did they get that pick list from? It's based on the stage. It's based on the stage of the opportunity. The stage of the opportunity was used as the PAT. So for our projects, custom object, let's create a pick list. I'm going to create a pick list. So this pick list would be used as my PAT. So what would you recommend to have on a project? I think the ideal pick list to use is a project status. Again, you can have a global pick list value set, or you can enter yours. So I'll just say the project is new, the project is open, the project is in review, the project is in process. You know, just made up process. This is not cast in stone. You can call this anything. It's just for the project is abandoned, the project is completed. So I've created like probably 6 pick list value for the status of a project. I click on next and I make it visible to all profiles. I click on next and I save. Now that we have a pick list for a project, the next thing we need to do is we want to bring the project to our tab. Yesterday, I told you about tab visibility. You have default on, default off, and default hidden. If you want to bring this project object to the menu here, you have to add it to the custom object tabs. How do I get to the custom object tabs? I went to the tabs, I click on tabs, and I get here. Then I click on new, I select projects, I gave it a color, and I click on next, and I apply default on, meaning that the project will be available to all profiles. If I want to separate the visibility of this project custom object to different objects, I can select it here. It's totally up to you. But ideally, you should be creating custom object with a purpose. Who needs that custom object? What profile needs that custom object? Then based on your analysis, you create and assign. Don't create anything without doing a business analysis. Do not create anything without having to discuss with the business. Do not create anything, do not grant any permission without authorization. Salesforce can track whatever you're doing in the system. If you grant any permission without authority of the business, you could be liable for the consequences. Now that we've created project on the menu, we can now refresh this and add it if it doesn't appear. As you can see, project is now appearing. When we create new projects, it's going to ask us for project name. I can call it Black Force Training, but it doesn't matter. You can call it anything. Then I give it a stage called new. Now that we have these projects, we want to have a path, a custom path. A custom path, like I said, is just to track the life cycle of a project visually. You want to see some fancy stuff going to the right that shows that you're moving good in the project. So how do you create custom paths? You go to the home and you type in paths. When you type in paths, you go to path settings. When you click on the path settings, you can enable paths and you click on new paths. When you click on new paths, you give it a name, project paths, and you select the object of interest, projects. Then you select a record type if you have it. If you do not have a record type, it's going to go with the master. Master is the default record type for any object that do not have a record type created. As you can see, the status automatically comes up. That's because it's a pick list value. Once we have the status, we go to next and we can see the paths for that project. Then we go to next and we activate this path and we finish. Now we've created a custom path and we've made the custom path active. How do we bring the custom path into the project's custom objects? I'm going to refresh this page and I'm going to teach you how to edit a page. You edit a page by clicking on the gear sign. Instead of you going to setup, you go to edit page. Edit page gives you the opportunity to change everything you have on this page. You can decide to move activity down. You can decide to move related gear. You can do anything. I'm going to click on edit page. And one thing you can also do with edit page is you can bring in other items that are not presently on this page. Let's do that. I'm going to drag paths and I'm going to bring paths up here. So I'm dragging paths and I'm bringing paths to you. Okay, this is paths. As you can see, we now have paths. Once you drag the paths up here, you save. After saving, you have to activate. Activating means you want to enable paths in your project custom page layout. You have to assign as org default, meaning that you want to assign it to everyone in the org. If you don't want to assign it to everyone in the org, you can specify who can have it. This is for an app. We're going to create app in a very short while, but you can specify who can have these projects, custom parts, new page. You can also specify what record types, what apps, what profiles. Salesforce gives you that liberty to play around with anything in the org, as long as you have a business requirement. The business requirement determines a lot of things. So for now, let's start with org defaults. I'm going to assign it to org default, and I want it to be present in desktop and mobile phone view. I click on save, and it is saved. It is activated and it is saved. If I go back to my project display, it will have the parts. This is how to create a custom parts. As you can see, we can now have some life cycle for our project status. Black Force training is in process right now. It's in review. You go to review and mark as current status. And anytime you mark as current status, the status changes automatically. Every time you mark as abandoned, it status changes automatically. As you can see, everything is dynamic. This is a straightforward path. What if we have a requirement that says we need to have a record type? So you can also create a record type for your project's custom objects. I'm going to call it internet projects. And I'm going to assign it to all. Then I'm going to assign the page layout project, which is fine. Then I can create a new record type, and I'll call it external projects. These are ways which you build application. Applications are very easy once you know how to build them and where to go. As you can see, it looks simple and straightforward, but it comes with experience. You need to pay attention to all these things Salesforce gives you out of the box. Pay attention to them and find a reason why you are using them. So now that I have that, I'm going to save. I have two record types right now. As you can see, I have external projects and internal projects. Previously, I told you the impact of record types. It affects what values you get from a pick list. It affects what values you get from a pick list. So right now, status is new, open, in process, review, and the likes. So if I select external projects, I edit the status value. I don't want external project to be in review. I don't want external project to be abandoned. I take it off and I save. Going back to the record types, I go to internal projects. I don't want internal project to be new, and I don't want internal project to be in process. So these are the 4 options available for internal projects. The same way we've done for processes, business processes, the same way we've done for custom objects. So if you try to create internal projects, you see the options that comes up for you. This is an internal project. It has this option, open, in review, abandoned, completed. Then you create another project. This is an external project. It has different options. As you can see, it's different compared to internal projects. One thing you should know is that when we have our Black Force training, you can see a path. But when you see our new projects, internal, external projects, which we create, there are no paths. Why is that? Because when we are creating our custom path, we selected master record. Now that we have record types, we need to create special paths for our new record types. So I will start with external projects, and I will select projects, and I will select external project as the record type. So now anytime we have external project, we have this option. And I finish, but I need to activate it for it to kick in. All I just need to do is click on activate. The same way we've done for external projects, we can do for internal projects. So whenever we have internal projects, it's going to follow that path. Again, if you do not create the paths for different stuff, you wouldn't see it. One thing you should also see is this. There is a fields which identify key fields for that state. So key field for open state is the status. You can say key fields for in review state is the currency or last modified date. You can specify different things to appear based on the stages. Salesforce gives you that liberty to manipulate your orgs the way you want it. Now, if you refresh this, you're expected to see the path come up because we've created a custom path for external process. This is how you create custom paths using record types. And this is how you manipulate the fields that comes up on the record types. So far, we've learned a lot in a very short time. We've learned how to use record types. We've learned how to use page layout assignments. We've learned how to assign a page layout assignment based on record types. We've learned about the processes. We've learned about the lead processes. And we've learned about the sales processes. So basically, these are just the same way we've done for paths. For instance, if I create a new sales process and I call it external customers. External customers, we have a sales process and you just take off things. It's just a process. The process is what you see here. The process is the part you see here. It's just kind of like, this is the process, this is a life cycle. Now that we've known the basic things I want you to know, I want you to now see how to create your own application. So far, we've been using sales application, which is the default applications that come as a new org. You can see other applications here as well, but this is just the default application. Now, if I ask you to work on a project, I would ask you to create an application. To create an application, you go to Setup and you type in App Manager. So the App Manager is where you start creating your application. As you can see, all the applications you see here are all the applications you see here. So if you want to take off all this application and make this app launcher very light, you can take it off. You just need to go to the App Manager and you take it off. But now I want to create a new app called Black Force App. I'm going to type in the Black Force app. Remember how I got here? I got here through the App Manager. I went to the objects and I typed in App Manager and I got here. Just for the benefits, I go to Setup. I go to App Manager and I click on App Manager and I click on New Lightning App. When you create a new Lightning app, you have to give it a name. After you give it a name, you give it a description. This is a test app. Then you can upload an image to identify the type of app it is. For instance, I can just say, I can say logo. If I have any logo in the system, I can upload the logo. So now that I've uploaded the logo, I can now say next. So let me explain what this means to you. Standard navigation is this type of navigation. This is a standard navigation. Console navigation is this type of navigation. Console. Let me go to console, service console. This is a type of navigation. The navigation for console is a bit condensed, meaning that you don't see all the tabs right here, but you see them in a drop down. So you can now select what object you want. The benefit of this is that it opens up new record in a new tab. As you can see, if I want to open another record, it opens in a new tab. So I can work with many records at the same time, compared to Sales app, whereby whenever I open a new record, I have to stay within the same object. Whatever application you want to build, you should specify whether you want a normal standard app or you want the console navigation. This determines whether you can have it on a mobile phone or a desktop. And this determines all other experiences based on the English word they describe there. For instance, disable end user personalization means that you cannot add extra objects to this tab. Disabling end user personalization means I cannot add custom objects or I cannot add new objects to this app. It's going to be based on what the developer or the designer has designed. Then utility, you can easily ignore, but it's essentially something that appears at the bar that tells you a quick insight into the application. Then you want to select available items. Like I mentioned earlier, you can remove all the objects you do not like. When you're creating your app for your project, I'm going to ask you to only focus on the custom objects you created. So you can remove all these objects if you do not like them. So you only select projects, you select students, you select exam records, and whatever object you want to select. You click on next. Then you now select the profiles that should have access to this app. I have selected all profiles, but ideally you should only select the profile that should be having access to this app. I click on finish and you have created the app. So if you refresh this page, you can now go to the app on the app launcher. This is the app launcher. You click on view all, the Blackforce app now appears here. If you click on the Blackforce app, a custom app now appears. And the whole interface looks clean, looks simple, looks nice. Now that you have this, what can you do? You can do a lot with the app. The fact that you have it is not enough. If you want to see all records, you go to all records. If you want to see recently viewed, you go to recently viewed. If you want to see more than just exam records, you can display them. Let me use an example of a sales app to explain this to you. We have the account records. I can see the recently viewed account records. I can see all account records. I can see my account records. These are the accounts I created. I can see last week account records. This view, you can make it a default, meaning that anytime I click on the account object, I can make what comes up all accounts. Then I can specify where I want to go. Now that if you have this view and you are in a sales department or you only deal with accounts with customer direct, how would you filter the view to only focus on the accounts which you work on? To create a new list view, you click on this gear icon and you click on new. Now you say customer direct accounts. So you determine who can see this account. If you are the only one in charge of customer direct accounts, you say only me, only I can see this view. If you want everyone to see it, you select all users can see this view. And you can read what it means when you select all users can see this view. If you say share list view with group, you can share this with the kind of group you've selected. Okay, So I'm going to say only me can see this customer direct, and I save. So now that you've selected customer direct does not mean anything. It only means that you've created a new list view. Now you have to create a filter. What is a filter on a list view? A filter on a list view is what filters or differentiates the view from the specified, what differentiates all the records into the ones which you are interested in. So to add a new filter, you click on Add Filter and you specify the type. You go to Type. When you specify the type, you will be able to select what you're interested in, Customer Direct. Then you click on Done. Once you click on Done, you need Save. Once you click on Save, you have a new view called Customer Direct. Now, anytime if you pin this, anytime you go back out of the account objects and you come back to the account object, you will see the Customer Direct. This pin ensures that it's only pin what you're interested in anytime you come to the account object. Now that you've seen all this, if you don't like the phone number and the billing state and the client site, you can remove it. You can display what you want. How do you do that? You go to the gear icon, you select fields to display. The fields to display will determine what you want and what you don't want. So if I don't want all that, I want the annual revenue, I bring it to display. I want the client number, I bring it to display. This is how you determine what you want to display in your list view. So you've learned a lot in a very short while. But remember, everything you've learned is a cumulative of what you've learned in previous times. So please try to watch the video, try to pay attention, and obviously try to ask the right questions so you can learn faster. There are so many things you can do with the list view, but I would rather you play around with it, okay? You can play around with the display type. This is the list display type. We have Kanban view. Kanban view is mostly used by salespeople. When you want to get a different view of your list view, you can separate them based on Kanban and you can move them into different places. So Kanban view is mostly used if you're working in a project management environment. And there is also the split view. The split view is similar to the console view, but the only difference is just it is split view. Whatever selection you have, you see it there. So play around with your view, play around with your list, and play around with record types and everything we've learned. I think I'm going to stop here and open the forum for you guys to ask me questions. So please, if you have questions, raise your hand up and I'll be able to take your questions one after the other. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to open the floor for questions now. Okay? Honorio Day, please.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Babatope. So I'm still confused. I'm taking you back. The difference between the master details, like how do I know which to choose as the master or the detail? Like, for the example you gave us about the student and exam record. Who is the parent there? Who is the child? Like, I'm still trying to know when to choose what.
Okay, that's a good question, and I'm happy to explain further because you would need this. So for me to explain this, I want to do something. I want to quickly open my Word document and I want to illustrate something. Okay, I cannot do this here. Let me see if I can. So if you have a view, if you have this object, you want to, let me give you an example of 2 objects or 3 objects. Okay, I'll give an example of 3 objects. The first object is customer. The second object is bill. And the third object is plan. Now, let's think about it carefully. You have customer, you have a bill, you have a plan. When you create a bill, who owns the bill? You're working in the telecommunication industry. You want to create a simple application for Bell to manage their customer. You've created a bill record. Who owns this bill?
The customer.
Customer is the master. Whoever owns the records of the child details is the master. Okay. Because if you delete customer, you don't have a bill. No one will pay that bill. Okay? Okay. So this kind of relationship is closely coupled, meaning without the customer, you cannot have a bill. Mm-hmm. Without the customer, you cannot have a bill. So customer owns the bill, then customer is the master, bill is the detail. To create a master detail, you will go to the bill and click on new field. Then you create a master detail field on the bill to relate it to the customer. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Now let's go to lookup. Oh, okay. What you want to further ask a question?
Yes. So I just want to find out. This one is not like a deep question. So, when as administrators, do they always give us the field label when we're creating this? When we're working for a company, do they give us the field label of what they want it to be, or we have to just give it our own names?
Yes. Someone asked this yesterday. As an admin, you will be given the field label depending on the organization size. If I'm working for a startup in New York, I don't need to have the field label given to me. I need to use my initiative and create the field myself, because that's what you're paid for as a consultant. However, as an admin, you don't need to worry about that, especially if you're working for a bigger organization. They will give you the fields, or the BA will be responsible for giving you the fields. And the BA will talk to business before they can give you the field. So BA relates with business and relates with the consultants. Admin, you relate to business and you relate with your BA. So don't stress yourself over anything, and always use your initiative to create the right fields for the objects.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries. So let me explain this plan bit. This plan bit, when you want to subscribe to a phone service, what do you select? What do you have when you want to subscribe?
You have a plan.
You have a plan, okay? But when you have this plan, can someone else also have this plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Well, if you bought it by yourself,
just explain this.
Yes, everyone can have the same plan.
Yes. A lot of people can have the same plan.
Yes.
Exactly. A lot of people can have the same plan. So when you relate a customer and a plan, you don't relate it tightly. You relate it loosely.
Okay.
Loosely, meaning that this plan does not belong to the customer alone. It belongs to a lot of customers that you don't even know. Yeah. So the relationship between customer and plan is lookup.
Okay.
The lookup relationship is loosely connected. If I delete the plan, if I delete the customer, the plan will still exist, because the customer only has this plan, but other customers also have this plan. But the customer owns this bill. Once I delete the customer, this bill should go. That's tightly coupled, loosely coupled. That's master detail and lookup relationship for you.
And the customer is the master.
The customer is the master in the master detail. In the lookup, there is no master. It's just lookup relationship.
So where do you create the relationship?
It depends on, so when you're creating a customer, you want to associate a plan to the customer. So you go to the customer object and you create a relationship called lookup and you associate the plan to it.
Okay, so there'll be a drop down of different plans and then you can pick the plan.
Yes. Okay, you're going to get this in your project and you're going to work on it. Okay? That answers the lookup and master detail relationship.
And then, sorry, before you move on, just one other thing I wanted to ask. Does it really matter if it's a many-to-many or a one-to-many relationship? Or should one not even think of it in that sense?
You should think about it in that sense as well. Always think about it from a business point of view. For instance, how many plans should a customer have?
Oh.
How many plans do you have on your mobile phone?
One.
Maybe just one, yeah.
So that's one-to-one relationship. How many bills do you have in a year?
Many.
12.
Many, 12.
One-to-many relationship.
Oh, okay.
That's how you think about the relationships, okay?
Okay.
One-to-one, one-to-many, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Rosemary, please.
Okay, thank you. In the roll-up summary field, when we're trying to create, like adding the scores, and when we got to average, we had to do total scores separate and total counts. Is there a process of just using the formula data type to just calculate the average directly without having to go through the long process of creating separate fields?
I don't understand.
Like a sum
Roll-up summary, right? When we were
there's no option for that, right? There was no average option. We have sum, we have count, we have max.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking I was asking if there was like a process where we just use the formula option to calculate.
Let's check. I never thought about it. Let's just check. I think it's possible, but I never really thought about it because I just wanted to introduce you, right? Then when you're doing the project, you can now do it yourself. But let's go to, I selected formula, right? Did I select formula? Yeah, formula. Yeah. Then you go to maybe percentage. Then you click on next. And I think there's an average operator here, right? Go to advanced. Then go to, I think there's average. I'm not sure. There should be average.
It's alphabetical.
Oh, is it?
Would it not be at the top?
top. No,
it's not there.
It's not.
Let's go to logical. Let's go to maths.
The square roots, there's everything.
Advanced. It's okay. You can just find it online and just put it there.
Is that average? It's average percent that is already there.
Is it?
It won't work because we chose.
Yeah, you can just Google whatever you want online. Just say average formula Salesforce, and it's probably going to give you a bunch of how to do it. Always remember, Salesforce has like help and stuff like that to use. So I've just done it out of the box. I just think through and I did it, but you can always think through as well. That's why you're a consultant. You kind of like solve problems. Okay. Yeah. Rosemary, please.
Rosemary just spoke.
Oh, sorry. Veta, please.
We drop our hands after speaking.
Okay, drop your hands if you've spoken so I don't call you again. Has Veta spoken?
No,
Yes.
thank you.
Veta,
I haven't. So, there's two things that I wanted to ask. First of all, I think when you started right at the top of the call, you were going to, I don't know if you were going to create an object, and then you said you'd show us how, I think this was around getting specific data on our test orgs, because as I was trying to follow, I realized that I don't have most of the things that you have on yours. So what I'm asking is basically, is there a way where we can get like specific data on ours without having to go in and create all the records? Because it seems like a lot of things are not really there. They don't come standard with this. And I think at the top of the call, you said you would show us how to get data or something like that.
For what I'm using right now, it's based on default data from Playground. So I just literally create a playground and all this data comes by default. So I don't know what playground you're using.
Okay, I'm also using the same one. Okay, you know what? I'll go back and check. That's fine.
When you check, just say open all. It will show you all.
Okay, thank you. And then
it's good. It's good. Actually, select all accounts or select all in terms of whatever you want. Okay.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you so much. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask today, this is something I didn't see you do like the past few days. You were switching between a standard and a premium account. I do apologize if I missed you explaining this. You were not doing it regularly. I just wanted to get more information, like what the essence of that was.
Oh, so everything I made up, okay? Based on experience, I made up. But one thing I was telling you guys today is the record types. So the record types is what you use to differentiate the pick list value. So it's something I created in the back end. And whenever you create a record types, it asks you before you continue, what type of record are you trying to create?
Okay. No, that's fine. I understand. Thank you so much.
No worries. Tosin, please. Tosin Olajide, please.
Yeah, good evening. So my question is this: is it possible, when you were talking about the path where you have like new and all of that, so is it possible for you to change the values in that path? Like, for instance, you don't want new, so you have like another process that you're working with, maybe phase 1, phase 2, or just something like that. Can you edit the values and change it?
Yeah, when I was creating my projects, I literally created all this. They are the status of these projects. And if you don't want new open, you can go back to the object, look for projects, and you change to whatever you want. Go to the status and you scroll down, you change all this. You can even add more to it. Okay. Add more to it. And once you add more, you select the record type that belongs to this, then you save. So it will appear here and it will appear in your front end as well. Okay. And you can always switch if you don't see if the add more is there now, right?
Oh, okay, perfect. All right. Thank you.
No worries. Echo, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Babatope. I just want a clarification. The details of an object can be controlled based on profile, record type, and page layouts. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And in your illustration with the customer bill and plan, so the customer to the bill is a one-on-one relationship, and the customer to the the customer to the plan is a one-on-one relationship, and the customer to the bill is a one-to-many relationship. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. That's all for me.
Yeah, thanks. Tosin, please. Tosin.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm still a bit confused. So when you say record types, is it that you're, like when you're talking about lookup relationships, is that a type of record? Master data relationship, is that a type of record? Because I understand page layouts, and I know that's you can only have one page layout for a profile, but I don't understand how you're now saying you're using the record types to mix different page layouts within a profile. So that part's not clear.
Okay.
That's so a second question, but let's do this one first.
Okay, record type are just types of records. Just see it from that point of view. Record types are types of records. And what does that mean? It helps you define pick list values, the page layout to use for a particular pick list value, and the business process. For instance, if you have a pick list value such as new, open, in process, completed, add more. This is a pick list value. Record types helps you determine if you want all this pick list value to appear, or you want to limit it based on a particular record type. What do I mean by that? If you are dealing on a project and you have an internal project, and you know that an internal project does not require a review, you don't have to provide in review option in the status of the project. Having a record type called internal projects helps you to take off this. So right now, let me show you how to do it. We have this project, and I've created a record type called internal and external record type. So if I go to my projects, I go to my record types, internal and external projects. For internal projects, the status of the pick list should not have a review. Sorry, I take it off and I save. Now, anytime I'm entering a record for a project, and if this record is internal project, status will never be, you have to refresh this page to kick in. Anytime you're creating a record, status will never have in review. That means it's either going to go to open, abandoned, or completed. However, if you are creating a project and it is external, it will have maybe review if you've selected review in that external project status option. So I'm going to add review, okay? Save. That means if a project is external, it means you can have a review. That's the power of record types. Record types helps you determine what data to have in a pick list. It can also help you to determine the page layouts. As you can see, if you go to page layouts, you have page layout assignment. But before you can have a page layout assignment, you need to have multiple page layouts to differentiate page layouts, right? So for instance, I can create a new page layout called internal projects page layouts, meaning that this page layout will be used for internal projects only. Now I save. Then I create a new page layout. I call it external projects page layouts. This page layout will be used for external project, and I save. But obviously, you need to differentiate you need to kind of like create some differences between the page layout. Don't just create two page layout because they are the same thing. No, you have to differentiate it. Why are you creating the page layout? You need to differentiate them. After that, you do the page layout assignments. The page layout assignment helps you to determine what page layout to select if the guy or the user has selected internal projects. What page layout to select if the user has selected external projects. This is how you select the page layout. You determine what profile would that person be. Once you select, okay, the person needs to be an admin. If the person is working on external projects, use external page layouts. If the person is working on internal projects, use internal page layouts and you save. So next time the person is selecting internal project, the person will see something different. If the person is working on an external project, the person will see something different. Okay, that's the benefit of profile and page layout. Can you see? Projects, external has something different and internal has something different. Internal has currency, external does not have currency. And once you click on the details, you would see a different stuff. That's page layout, record types, and profiles. They will ask you in your certification exam, how would you differentiate different page layout for different processes, for different inputs, and different record types? Always remember, use record types, use page layouts, and use different business processes. Okay, does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Okoyemi, please.
Yeah, thank you, Babatope. I have a question. what is really the importance of the schema builder? Like, I know you talked about it yesterday, but I don't really understand how is it necessary? Yeah.
Schema builder helps you to build or visualize your models. So you can get to schema builder from object manager, schema builder, or you can type it in the quick find. Schema builder would help you visualize your models. So right now, I have created students and I've created exam records. How do I know the relationship between student and exam record? If you don't know behind the scene, this is where you should come. Master detail relationship is red. So it shows the master detail relationship. That's how you know that the relationship between a student and a detail is master detail, one to many. So the schema builder helps you visualize it. In addition to that, as you can see, when we want to create a new field, we go to the object manager, we go to fields and relationship, and we click on new. The schema builder, you can easily create a new field. Okay, you can create, just 1 minute. You should be able to create a new field, okay? So I'm just gonna look, okay, I wanna create a dates. I just drag it on this and I create a new field. So I don't have to go through 3 steps to create a new field. I can automatically create a new field directly from the schema builder. I can also edit the object properties. Remember, I can do everything directly from the schema builder. The schema builder is what architects use to design. The admin use the object manager and the design. Everyone, no matter, it's up to you how comfortable you are. You can use the schema builder or you can use the object manager. So that's the benefit of the schema builder. It helps you visualize your model. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Edosa, please.
Oh my God, it's just like you just know what's in my mind. I was actually going to ask it's not a question though. Is this element part, when I was going through, so I found out that there's a shortcut in this element. You didn't touch it when you were teaching us this schema builder. So I wanted to just say is it a proper way to use it as a shortcut? But you just immediately you explained to this guy, you just use this, you use the element.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next question is Adewale. Adewale, please. You're mute if you speak. You're actually not on mute, but I can't hear you if you're speaking.
Hello, Babatope. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
All right. I was meant to lower my hand because I was going to ask you exactly what the other 2 guys did ask or talk about. I was going to ask, especially after the first guy asked the question, I was going to say that, of course, I did some hands-on about this schema builder, and I discovered that it's actually an alternative. And for me, I think the schema builder is, I think is a faster and easier way of creating objects, and then fields as well.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So so
can you do it one more time?
But then why the schema builder might be better for an architect would be because you just want to see the flow of things. You want to see, you want to visualize it, but the object manager does not show you behind the scene of things like this. It does, you don't see it how it happens, but you just, creates it for you.
Yes. So you're right. Again, I spend, depending on the project, if it's an easy project, I don't really use schema builder. I just visualize it within me, or I use Draw, or I use Creately. I have a lot of tools as an architect. I just design and I give it to the admin to implement. So An architect design, like as you can see, I know where to go. I can just say things with just keywords.
You're a wizard already.
No, a consultant will now be implementing this. So I think in McKinsey, we have implementation consultant. In Accenture, we have implementation consultant. So if you guys are interested in implementation, those are the companies you should be looking at. But if you want to develop, then you have to go directly to the enterprise like RBC, CIBC, and the like, because the II love developers. But if you're implementing, you have to be a consultant, because one project is done, you go to the next projects and the likes. Okay, so it's totally up to you, your career path. But again, consulting is the easiest because you get to see a lot of things and you learn on the job a lot. There are sometimes they ask me some questions during stand up. I go on mute and I try to Google to find out, and I can mingle one or two things together and unmute myself. When I speak, they believe me. But that's because I've done my own homework. I know what the keywords are, and I can explain those keywords to my clients. And you always learn on the job, but more importantly, just be familiar with everything around Salesforce and use Salesforce terminologies. That's the key difference between someone that is just learning and someone that read outside of this class. You're going to learn more by just reading by yourself as well. Okay. So does anyone have any other questions before we close for tonight? I think I've answered everyone, but do you have one more questions? We can still take one or two.
It's not
Sorry,
a
I have a question. I have a question.
Okay,
when we were creating the app through the Lightning Builder and everything, there's an option for connected apps. So does that mean we can connect an app to the platform?
Let me see what you mean. So app manager?
App manager, yeah.
Oh, connected app. This is connected app.
Yeah,
it's
new
used
connected
for
app, yeah.
Yeah, it's used for authentication.
Nobody writes up close to
it's used for
Yeah,
it's used for authentication. It's more of a developer's thing. It's not something you should be using.
Okay, that's fine.
So yeah.
Thanks.
That's the use of connected app. So you guys should learn how to create app and try to create your own app. Okay. I think next week, I think we are pretty much done on this. I've covered everything about objects, types of standard objects and the use cases, object tabs, visibility, page layout, assignment, custom fields, data types, unique fields, required fields, external IDs, roll-up summary formula. Remember, roll-up summary can only be used on a master detail, okay? You cannot use it on a lookup. Object relationship, master detail, lookup, model development, schema builder, record types, parts, and business processes. In the last 2 days, we've covered all this. So we are done with the basics of Salesforce. Next week, Monday, I'm going to introduce your project and we're going to go into sales and marketing applications. Okay, sales and marketing applications. We're going to go into details of how to use opportunities and how to use leads. We're going to go into much details about them. So be ready for your project next week, as well as going into key things in Salesforce. That's when you're doing beyond administrative stuff. You're doing beyond creating an account for user and creating an object. You're not doing more than just the Salesforce admin. I think that's all okay.
Babatope, can I just ask one question, please?
Okay.
Yeah, there's something I was reading. Maybe it's about security and access, right? They were asking, they said, which Salesforce org cannot create and edit custom permission? And I have 4 options: enterprise edition, professional edition, group edition, and developer edition. And I was like, on security, when we were taking security, I don't think we had such topic, or maybe we haven't got there, but I don't know.
These are just Salesforce orgs, right? The types of orgs. Right now, we're using hands-on orgs. This is like the free org and everything. But if you're looking into more of restriction in terms of what you can create, then the type of org will determine what type of permissions and everything. But again, when it comes to certification questions and the likes, you just have to be very objective about it. But you can actually go to your Salesforce and try it, okay? So just
I was thinking. No, the reason why I'm asking is I don't know if we are still going to take it. So that's why I just wanted to know. I just wanted to know if it's something that I have to like do, like check by myself out, or if it's something that I have to bring up. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we're gonna. I think our last week is getting certified, where I show you how you can answer questions for your certifications and how you can, eliminate based on options and stuff like that. So I think towards the last week, we're going to discuss that. But more importantly, there are some questions that I might not even teach you because there are just ways Salesforce requires you to read outside of probably your classroom. Okay, so you just need to know those stuff. And based on your reading, you'll be aware of it. And
thank you
it's
so
something
much.
that, yeah. Okay.
Have a great weekend.
Sorry, Babatope, a quick one. I just noticed that the many-to-many concept, you didn't really talk about that, or maybe I missed out on that.
I did not talk about that because I don't want to overwhelm you with that. You might not need it as an admin, but if you ever need it, you would know it. But right now, I don't think you should use it. Or I don't think you would need it, okay?
All right, quick one again, lastly. The one-to-many that you let the customer and the build scenario, the bill came about as many because of a case scenario where we could have different bills for the year. Is that correct?
Yeah, it could be different bills for the month as well. It doesn't matter.
Oh, for the month, okay. And the plan is just one customer to one plan. That's it. That's why it's one-to-one.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Always think about it along that line. Always use that analogy. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's start with Rita, then we go to Ola.
Okay. Yes, thanks. There are some places when you're trying to maybe create is it fields? I see somewhere where they write description. Does that help to provide information about that field, like a field level help?
Yes. So if you put a description test and a help test, description helps the developer to understand why the field has been created. So I can just say test account, then you can say description is, you can select that anyway. You say description is, this field is to collect X data, right? This is the reason why you're creating this field, to collect test account data. But help is enter test account data. So the difference is this help test, the user will see it. Okay? The user in the front end will see it, but description is a back end thing. So if I go to test account, if I go to test account fields, I would, the developer would see the description, okay? This is a field to collect test account. But in the front end, if I go to accounts and I try to enter the test account field, where's the test account field? Enter test account field. The user would see this. That's a help test, okay?
Thanks.
No worries. Ola, please.
Yeah, mine is not the conventional, the usual ones, the usual question that people have been asking in this class today. I just want to know, like, we've been talking about, say, marketing, the use case in marketing, the use case in sales. I wonder if there's any use case in, say, supply chain, maybe supply planning, demand planning for Salesforce.
There are so many use cases for Salesforce, right? I can only give you use cases based on my experience. I've used in a bank, I've worked in an insurance company, I've worked in oil and gas, I've worked in virtually most of the lucrative industries. So I'll give you the use cases based on those industries. However, Salesforce can be used anywhere. So it's a CRM, but it's going beyond just a CRM. It can be used anywhere. So the knowledge of Salesforce can get you jobs when you're not ready for that job. It's just going to be like, okay, you have a Salesforce certification. This is the tool we're using. Then you're good to go for the job. That's why it's always good to just have it, because it's changing the way businesses go to cloud. And everything is work from home right now. With Salesforce knowledge, you can literally work from home, and that alone is an advantage. Okay. So in as much as the use case is good, but the fundamental is what the Salesforce admin is all about. The fundamental. So when the use case comes, you know how to build models. When the use case comes, you know how to build parts, custom objects, and the likes. So that's what I'm teaching you, the fundamental for you to be able to stand any use case of Salesforce. Does that help?
Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
No worries. I'll go with Tammy and Erica, and we'll close for tonight. Tammy, please.
All right, Babatope, good evening. I wanted to ask something regarding the page layout you taught like day before yesterday or yesterday. If you remove a field through the page layout, can you use a mission set to that feedback, like assign it to a user to see that you took off from the page layout?
If you remove a field from the page layout,
yeah, where you click that mouse and it disappears.
Permission set shows you whether to open up the field or not. Okay, visible or not. You can select that using permission set and profile.
Okay, because what I noticed is if I take it out the page layout, that specific field doesn't appear. But if I use feed accessibility to like block it, I can use permission set to open it, which shows the figures in or the record in the tab there. But yes, when I go from the page layout, I just take out that, like maybe the account name. I take out the account name from the page layout. I cannot use permission set to get it back, even if I go check those two boxes.
Yeah, so see it this way, right? You cannot hide what does not exist, right? It has to exist first. Then you either hide it or hide it for certain people. But the fact that you want to hide, you want to bring it into the view, you have to put it on the page layout. After that, then you can now determine whether certain profiles should have it or not. Do you get? So if your building does not exist, you cannot put maybe a gate or something, but just use it from that point of view. Okay?
That's true.
Yeah. Erica, please.
Hi, Babatope.
Yeah.
So my question, or maybe it's more of a suggestion, it's when we're setting up our custom objects, and when you go to set up Object Manager, and you've got the different options where we did speak on optional features, but if you go right down to the bottom with object creation options, where you can only select these at the time when we're setting up the Object Manager, there is that option to launch the new custom tab wizard, like when you're saving your object. So I'm just thinking this could be a shortcut to make sure that once you set up the your custom object, it will automatically show one of those tabs. And then all you need to do with the, on the navigation section is just do your, do your deletions and if you want to, as you mentioned the other day, if you want to move certain ones to the top of the list, this would be a quick way to do it.
Yeah, you're right. People have different ways of doing things. Let me tell you, when you're working in the industry, you can be given 10 objects to create, right? And you probably don't want to create one object, create a tab for that object and do other stuff. You might want to create just the objects, then you go back into creating tabs, then you go back into creating this and that. Everyone has different ways of doing things in Salesforce. The most important thing is know what objects are, know what tabs are, know what visibility to tabs are. Once you know how to go about your thing, you're good to go. Whatever you decide to do, it's totally your strategy, your different approach to doing things. But ideally, you should use whatever is comfortable for you. That's what my recommendation would be. Okay? Yeah, but you're right. You can easily just launch the tab wizard and determine whether you want the tab to be up here or not and everything. You can do the profile, you can do whatever you want. Okay? Yeah.
All right, thanks.
No worries. I think that's all from me tonight. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm wishing you the best next week. There will be no classes tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, okay? So the next class will be on Monday. And I'm going to introduce the project to you guys as well. Take care and have a good weekend. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.